Good evening, good morning, good day, wherever you are in the world. And thank you once again for joining another live stream from sunny Abruzzo from home in Italy. My name's David Benton, and together with my wife, Silvana, we've been helping clients from all over the world buy, restore, and move to beautiful Italy, and in particular, Abruzzo, which is obviously my home region. Thank you so much for joining us again tonight. Hopefully, I can start to see people coming in. I think from YouTube at the moment. People should be tuning in from Facebook as well really soon. So really good that you're here, and thank you so much for all the support as usual that you do give us on these live sessions. We do try and keep them as entertaining as possible, and we're going to carry on doing them while ever you guys are there giving us the support. So thank you very much for that. Let us know where you are in the world. Send us a quick message on the chat box. Tell us where you're watching from. It also makes it so I know I'm not talking to myself, and also it makes us realize that the chat box is up and running and things like that, because we've had a couple of gremlins pre-show, which we're hoping has calmed down a little bit now. But yeah, let us know where you are in the world. Just write something in the chat box so we know that everything is working. Okay, there's a few notices to tell you about what's happening over the next month or so. We've got on next Thursday, we've got. I'm going to try. I think if you can remember, some of you may well remember that we've got a tour next week, which is where we take a group of people around viewing the area, viewing properties and all that kind of thing. And that's actually happening next week. So we're getting together with the group next Wednesday evening. And then we've got next Thursday all together, next Friday. So I'm possibly may do it a little bit earlier than usual, and see if I can get some of the people on the tour to join in a little bit. That may be a little bit of fun. So I'm undecided what we're doing next week. I wanted to keep it open because if people do agree that's been on the tour for the first day, I thought it might be quite interesting to catch up with everybody and everybody give their opinion on what they thought of the area and that sort of thing. So next week is a little bit up in the air, but that's the 4th of May. As I said, that's going to be touch and go. Tony, if you can just hold the chats off just for a second, so I can just put these notices up, and then we can move on. Okay, so yeah, so the 4th of May at home in Italy on the road. Hopefully, if we've got the possibility to get the group to join in, that might be quite interesting. Then on the 11th of May, we've got Why Abruzzo. Usually it's called My Abruzzo. This one's called Why Abruzzo. One little word, but it means quite a lot of difference. So I'm going to be discussing why I think that you guys should be coming to Abruzzo. You should be choosing Abruzzo as a place to live in, and be giving you. I'm going to give you my rundown on what I think are the best areas, why I think they're the best areas, few sort of hot property spots and that kind of thing. Having been here now for 15 years, just over 15, no, actually, no, it's 15 years this year, 1998, no, 2008, when we're talking about. I think now I'm set on certain areas of Abruzzo. I think, in my opinion, I've found the best of the best. That's not saying that other areas are bad or anything like that, but I'm going to give you my opinion on what I think is the best part of Abruzzo and why you should be coming here. So that's on the 11th of May. Then on the 18th of May, we've got our foreign exchange guy coming back in, David Nixon. He's going to give you a few tips on how to make the most money out of foreign exchange. It is something that people always leave by the last minute. I have noticed that in any signings that we do, sometimes it could be my fault, sometimes it could be the fault of not getting the full figures in from the notary and that kind of thing. But it is something that you should really consider. I want you to tune into this one. I want you to tune in every week, but in particular this one, because it is going to be giving you a lot of tips on if it's something you're planning on doing, even if you're buying this year or next year, there's things that you can do now where you can save sometimes thousands on foreign exchange. And rather than using usual banks and things like that will charge you a lot more and not give you as good a rate, this guy, David Nixon, is going to come in and tell you the best way to trade foreign exchange and the best way to set up a plan for when you are looking to buy a property, hopefully in Italy, hopefully in Abruzzo, but if not, anywhere else in Europe. So that's going to be a great one. That's on the 18th. And then on the 25th of May. Meet the home buyers. This one's actually going to be a catch-up, I'm hoping. I haven't spoken to the couple yet because we've got a number of people that have bought and are buying, but I've got to be honest with you, the vast majority of people who were helping buy, let's say over the last 2 or 3 months, are all remote sales, which is obviously what we're talking about tonight. And I'll be completely honest, it's a difficult subject then to do the Meet the Home Buyers because they've not been here. So it's really, they've not looked at other properties. There's so many people that are doing what we're talking about tonight that just choose something off the internet and just say, that's what we want. Can you help us? This is a property that we want. Can we buy it? That, as I say, it doesn't make good for the Meet the Home Buyer sessions because there's very few that's actually coming out here. But I am hoping it's either going to be another Dutch couple that have found their spot, their perfect place that did come out here. But I have got a couple that's out. Well, the gentleman's out at the moment. They bought maybe about a year ago from the US, and then basically went back to the US and let us demolish their house and restore it for them. And we're in the middle of restoring the property. And the guys come out here. He came yesterday to come and see the property for the first time. So I've got a meeting with him tomorrow morning. So I'm not nervous at all. It's always nice to smash somebody's house to pieces and then get them to come out and have a look halfway through. So all things going well, which I hope it will do because their place is looking amazing. Even though I haven't asked them yet, they may even be watching this. But I really hope that they will come in to do a part 2 of theirs. They did when I had my old webinar system. They came on to talk about all the houses they'd seen and that kind of thing. But now I want to do sort of a recap on where they are now and looking at the project that they're actually doing. So that should be a good one. That's on the 25th of May. And I'd say tonight we are talking about buying remotely, which is exactly the subject the amount of people doing this now is just incredible. So tonight, that's what we're going to be talking about. I also want to pick your brains a little bit. Tony, you're free to put a few more. Oh, he's doing it already. Look at that. He's on the ball tonight, isn't he? You're free to, what am I going to ask you? No, that's it. I want to also ask, your opinion on a few things. So I'm going to start with that and then move on from there on to buying remotely. And you'll see why I'm asking your opinion on something, and it's all tied in with buying remotely and the way the world is changing, not just our business, but the way the world is changing. And I'd like a bit of input from you. So I'd like a few comments, even if Tony doesn't necessarily put them up tonight. It's not a problem. It's always great for me to read them afterwards. And if you do have some input from me for me, then it would be great if you would email me as well on info@homeinitaly.com. Because I really want to think about some of the things I'm saying to see whether or not it could help you in your future purchases. So we're going to talk about that as well. One other notice thing, as I mentioned, these tours, we call them Home in Italy on the road. Basically, what it is, we've been doing these now for a number of years. Obviously, COVID put a stop to it for a couple of years, where the idea was that people come out and we basically do. Not live seminars, but we run them, and I'm there to answer any questions that you have all the way through the time that we're together. We tend to meet day 1, we tend to have an aperitivo and that kind of thing. We meet just in the evening time. And then day 2 and day 3, we visit the area and we also visit properties within the area. So the idea is for you to get to know Abruzzo, get to know some of the best places, in my opinion. And we take you around as a group. And as I say, we view properties as well to match everybody's budget. It's always great because people that come on these things, some people, actually this group that's coming next week, they're all looking for very similar things, which is quite good. But even if there's lots of variations, it's still great to see a bit of everything for you. Hopefully you can see me again. I said the gremlins were in tonight. Tony, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see me? Because I don't know. Yeah, he's giving me a thumbs up. Don't know if the screen disappeared for you guys, but it did for me. Anyway, hopefully that's the gremlins out of the way. Something is happening this evening. It's completely thrown me off track. But yeah, the group tours. So, and people, the tour that we did last October, The group's still together. We have a WhatsApp group together, and they're all in contact together. A good few of them bought from the tour. It's just a great thing. So as I say, the one next week was full. I have actually got, if any of you are in Abruzzo at the moment and you want to join the tour, then we do have 2 spaces left on the coach, because unfortunately a couple had to cancel and they're coming down on the October one. So if any of you are in Abruzzo and you're here, it starts on Wednesday the 3rd, so next Wednesday in the evening in Pescara, where we do the aperitivo and that kind of thing. And then it's Thursday and Friday that we're together. So if you do want to join, then please email me at info@ahomeinaitaly.com, which is the email that is below. And let me know if you want to join us, or if maybe you can fly in quickly. I don't know. If not, I've not completely solidly booked the dates for October yet, but we're looking round about the 26th, 27th of October, which is pretty much the last week of October. That's what we're looking at. I know there was a couple of people that asked me if we could do it on the 20th. I am trying to pull it forward a week, but I have to go back to the UK for my mum and dad's 50th wedding anniversary. So, and I can't remember when that is. Hopefully they're not watching tonight. I think that's early October, but then I need time to prepare and that kind of thing. So it is going to be the last week or the last couple of weeks of October. And I'm also considering doing one in November as well, which will be right into autumn, which is a great time of year as well. Potentially the last week of November as well. So if any of you are interested in that, please email me on the info@ahomeinaitaly.com. Let me know which one would suit you best, either the end of October or the end of November, and then I will definitely get the dates booked in. We may do one or the other, or we may do both, depending what the response is. So usually we have groups of around 18 people, so we try and keep it sort of a little bit smaller, so it's a bit more intimate, if you like, a bit like these sessions. Is there any love music that we can put on, Tony? While we're no, that's it then. Okay, so that's all the notices out of the way. Let's get on to tonight's subject, which, as I say, is called buying remotely, and what that's all about. Well, basically, it is the new trend. I mean, I've been doing this now for about 18 years. Somebody's just put happy anniversary up there. Thank you very much. I'll pass that on to my mum and dad. Yeah, I've been doing this now for about 18 years, and for the first, I would say, 16 years of that, 16 and a half years, it's just been the traditional method, if you like. I was part of an estate agency, as people know, or some people know. We broke away. We broke away from the estate agency. We set the estate agency up a number of years ago. Myself and my wife moved away from it because we just wanted a different approach to things, and to change it from the constraints, if you like, of an estate agency, which is not pulling estate agents down or anything like that. We just wanted to do something else, because basically we want to be able to help people buy properties anywhere in Italy. We're based here in Abruzzo. We do the vast majority of things in Abruzzo, but we don't like turning anybody away. So if somebody wants to buy a property in Tuscany or buy a property in Puglia or whatever, we are here to help, and we have the services to help as well. So, but the last year and a half, since COVID, the amount of people buying remotely is just incredible. As I say, I would say at the moment, 80% of the time that I go to the notary, maybe even more than 80% of the time I go to the notary, I'm there as power of attorney for somebody. And out of that 80%, I would say a good 70% are people that have never even seen the property, never seen it whatsoever. Some people have never been sort of to Italy before, believe it or not. It's unbelievable what is happening. It really is. It's a great thing, and it's great that people have the trust in us to do this, because this is why we do things every Thursday night, because we want you to get to know us, because I know what it's like looking for properties in Italy. I've done it myself. And when you feel that there's nobody that you can trust, or you get the nerves, you get everything else, Whereas we do this every Thursday to try and say, look, we're here for you. We genuinely are, both me and my wife. The way we've always run businesses all of our lives, we understand how to deal with clients. That's probably our strongest thing. My wife always says I'm the one with the mouth, hence why I'm here doing these every Thursday, and she's the one that does the vast majority of the work. But that's that's life, isn't it? No, it's not. I'm joking aside. So we take things really serious. So when this started happening with the remote buying, I was absolutely blown away. Couldn't believe it. I remember one years and years ago that paid a deposit remotely, a small deposit, and then came and then bought it and all the rest of it. But everybody now is literally just doing as we say, sending money wherever we say to send it, and sort of trusting in everything that we do. And it is all secure what we do, and it's a perfect system. We've now got it to a point where we can almost do things really quick, almost like a checkout. It's not quite as quick as that, but there are a few things that we do as procedures that I'm going to go through tonight. But because it's not going to take too long, I just want to throw something at you, and I would really like your input and say either on this chat box or preferably by email, whatever you want to do. Let's have the Tom's just saying, I recently fell in love with Sulmona thanks to his recent video of the home for 59,000 euros that needs all that work. Yes, Tom, get in touch with me because I may have a couple more things coming in from Sulmona recently. This is the kind of thing I've been looking at. I've noticed a great response from YouTube, and I've got to thank all of you guys for that, for sitting and watching me on Thursday night, and also for watching our videos. And I've been saying that I'm going to sort of increase the amount of videos we do and that kind of thing. Our job has become, at the moment, not, I can't say stressful, because we're very happy that we have all these clients. It's fantastic. We're very busy. Sometimes it's difficult to get everybody into view properties and all the rest of it. But what I have found is the amazing response that we've been getting from YouTube and some of our videos. And it's all done simple. I don't confess to be any sort of filmmaker. I do it on my trusty telephone, and which I've now got something new to do it on, which I've been trying to work out today, and that was a bit of a laugh. But yeah, there's something else. So we don't. What I'm trying to do is get you guys to understand what this area is like, and and so many people have said all of a sudden I've discovered Abruzzo because of your channel, which is great, because it's just properties that I'm showing at the moment, and very little of the area, which I really want to change that. Lorraine is saying, is there much buyers remote, I'm saying, from buying sight unseen, if any? Yes, I would say the vast majority is sight unseen. The vast majority is unbelievable. And I say some people have never even been to the area, some people have never been to Italy. But I do have a passion for these things, and I know when people watch the videos, they say that they can feel my passion. It's not all about, just getting somebody buying a property and getting a sale, if you like. And that kind of, it's all about, I do have a passion for the properties here, and when I find something that I think is fantastic, I want to show people it. There's also lots of properties available that I don't do videos of because I just simply haven't got the time to do videos. And some properties, just no matter how you video, it just looks shocking, and people say, Dave, I have no idea what you're talking about. And a good example of that was another one that I put on in Sulmona that was on for 69k, that when you're there is a fantastic property, and it got didn't get shot down on YouTube, but it didn't get some very nice, some strange comments going off. So what I want to ask you is this. It does seem to be the way now that people want as much information as possible about buying and all that kind of stuff, which is what we use these Thursday nights for. I want to do the property videoing a lot more than what I do. I want to do content from the actual towns and show people what the towns are like and all that kind of thing. Not in a sense of making, cinematic videos and all the rest of it, just me walking around the streets and all that kind of thing. I want to do a lot more content like that. I also we want to try and change some of the all these people that are writing now. These are all people that are buying or in the process of buying. Good to see Neil. He's we're getting onto his soon. They're all buying remotely, or Neil's actually seen his property, but yeah, they've gone away and left it with me. I'm getting sidetracked again. Okay, so I want to do more of this, I then want to try and change the way people view properties, because what I've noticed is lots of people come out here thinking they know what they want. We've had discussions about this many times, thinking they know what they want, and then they find half of the time that they spend here is a bit of a waste of time, because we all go on to the internet. I did the same. I had reels and reels of properties that I wanted to see. This one I've got to see, this one I've got to see. Right, let's do this. Let's get 10 of those in that day, and let's try and do 10 that day, and let's do this that day, and all the rest. And everybody crams all of these property, and they've never been to Abruzzo before. I'm saying Abruzzo because that's obviously where I take people around viewing. And it's not that I find it strange, because I did it myself, but I think it's a massive mistake, because I think you need to give yourself time to see the area. So what I'm proposing is to do a lot more video content, a lot more videos of properties and that kind of thing. And I'm also considering changing the way we take people around, in the sense of there are some people that just want to come and it's the first time looking, they're maybe not ready just yet, and all the rest of it. We don't want anybody to feel that for anybody to feel that it's a waste of time us taking them around. So what some people will do is they won't tell you that they're not ready to buy yet, and we end up being tour guides for a day or 2 days. Or that's fine if we understand what we're doing, because the last thing that you should be doing, if it's just a let's go to Abruzzo and let's see what it's like, then it shouldn't be done in the way of filling your days up viewing properties. Because to me, that's the last thing you should do, because any good properties in those bunches are going to be gone by the time you look. We all have this passion about wanting to see properties, and I completely get that. So what I'm wanting to do is I'm wanting to do more video content. So if it is just a view, just getting an idea of the kind of properties that you could look at, get that across by sending videos. I'm also considering doing more tours. Instead of doing sort of twice a year, I'm considering doing them in a slightly boiled down version, in the sense of maybe it's just 1 day rather than 2 days, so people can see a number of different properties in a number of different places, being guided by us. Then we have food together and all the rest of it, and this kind of thing. And I'm wanting to do all this because I've seen what's happening with people. I'm seeing the way people are buying properties now, and it is completely changing. I'd love to hear your thoughts, whether or not you think things like that is a good idea, you think it would help you. Another thing that I'm wanting to do is, and I've been trying to think of the name, the only name I've come up with at the minute is called Contact Plus, but it sounds a bit like, it sounds like a toothpaste or some sort of strange medicine. And the idea behind this is, I had a client contact me last week that I think unfortunately I missed because they moved out of the area. But they found a place they love. They actually did it right, in my opinion. What they did is they came out here, and rather than book all their days with every single estate agent in the area and try and see as many properties and just get from one place to another to see properties, missing out on all this great stuff, they came and they just used the time to find a place that they love. Once they actually found a place that they love, they actually walked the streets and they found for sale signs, which you do find, and in Italy, you do find that quite a lot. So another service that we're thinking about doing is actually saying to you, okay, well, you can book a contact. You can book one of us. It could be myself. It could be my wife. It could be one of our colleagues, Domenico, that we work with in the Sulmona area, where basically you call us up and say, okay, I've absolutely fallen in love with this place. Didn't think I would, but I have. And I found these places. Can you call them for us? And we're happy to do that and call these people and try and get you in if you're there for a day or 2 days or something like that. And then if you like the place and you actually want to buy it, then you can negotiate with the owner, do whatever you're doing with the owner, and then say, right, Dave, I love this place. This is what I want. Sort it out for us. So that's another kind of service that we want to do. So I'm just trying to, I think I'd love to know the percentage of people that actually buy when they come out compared to, those that don't. So I'm talking about somebody coming fresh off the aeroplane and sort of never been here before. And I'd love to know that percentage of people, because I do think there's a better way. I do think there's a much better way of buying. Shez is saying, hey, Lorraine, we purchased remotely, sight unseen. Yes, they did. Although they did know the area. So this was another great thing. This is a classic example that when they came out, unfortunately, her husband does have health issues, so they've not been out, which is sad for me, because I can't wait to see you guys again really soon. I really can't, because they've got an amazing place. They've never seen it. I'm getting off track again, Anna, but I always, whenever I see a name pop up, I have to say hello. But they've got a fantastic place. Unfortunately, they've still not seen it yet, but they will come and see it soon. But I do think there's lots of clever ways to buy properties. There's lots of different ways to buy properties, because I do see so many people that are disappointed, and it shouldn't be like that, because part of the fun is viewing properties. I get that. But it's all about seeing places. It really is, getting out there and having a good look around and seeing some of the areas and seeing what's, instead of, I say, booking all your time up with people, and then being more sort of direct. So that's going to be another service that so far is called Contact Plus. It's a terrible name though, isn't it? But so come up with some decent names for me. There's a service where Tony's shaking his head at the minute. I can see a little camera of him. He's got his hand in his head. That's the best I've come up with so far. So come up with a name for me for these services where people can come out. You could be in the middle of anywhere. Sounds like a dating app with extras. Brilliant. Love it. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Okay, Contact Plus. Let's just get rid of that. I understand. I've got rid of it now. Tony's putting the sound effects on. Okay, so we're all right. We're not doing the dating apps. Let's be serious. But this could then apply to you anywhere in Italy. You could be anywhere. You could be, I don't know, in Sicily or wherever. All of a sudden fall in love with a place and think, I want to buy here. Then you haven't got to worry about, obviously make contacts with agents and do all the rest of it. But then if you decide to buy direct from the owners, which people on our website, the vast majority are direct from the owners. Some are with my good friend Domenico, who I work with in the Sulmona area. But it could be, you fall in love with somewhere, and we can make it so much easier, because we can look after everything that needs to be done, which I'm going to go through now, and you choose your ideal place. So it would be great to hear from you. Any ideas you've got that you would think that would make your life easier when you're viewing, I would absolutely love to hear from you. We've got a Facebook user saying, will you also be going on how to finance from the USA, or will that be a separate topic? It will be a separate topic, but I will say getting mortgages and things like that, extremely difficult at the moment, extremely difficult. In fact, almost impossible at the moment, unfortunately. So yeah, please get in touch with me. Let me know if you've got any ideas about how because we are changing. There's so many things happened this year that has meant that we're wanting to move things into a different way. And I would just love to hear from you guys to say, look, this is what I think. I say you can put it in the chat box if you like. I don't always get to see all the chats that go in there. So if you email me, the address again is on the bottom. It would be brilliant. Adam saying, would love to see a video on local services near properties, train, bus, since we wouldn't have a driver's license for some time after purchase. Yeah, thank you, Team Dave. Yeah, that's something that I touch on when we speak about the videos. And it's sort of, I know lots of people say, I wish you could go through that on the videos, but we try and keep them down to 10, 15 minutes where we can. So there's only so much you can say, but there is a topic in that. And it is one that I would definitely look at in certain areas to try and, I don't know. I don't want to sit here showing you a bus timetable every sort of few minutes and that kind of thing. But there must be a way we can make it a bit more fun, which I'm sure we would do. My next saying, but if you could find a nice husband for Celeste, that's her daughter, by the way. So yeah, so I've got to find. So that could be the dating app. Okay, so we're back to Contact Plus again. We're going to find people's daughters, Italian. Anyway. So let's get on to how we do this. How does it all work then when you're buying remotely? It is really secure. The way we do it, and I believe is extremely secure. There's obviously a huge amount of trust involved, because you're trusting that what I'm saying to you about a property, about an area, and everything else is right. Now, touch wood, I've not had anybody jump up and down on me and say, Dave, what on earth have you sold me? So far. And I don't think it's going to happen. I really don't, because I've got, there's only certain properties that I would sell remotely. If I thought for 1 minute there's a bit of a downside, they need to really see this, then I would make sure that I say to people, look, I'd rather, or I would do that many videos of wherever the downside could be. But the properties I video for a reason. The properties that if somebody said, I'm thinking about remote buying this one, then I would give you my 100%, because it's a big responsibility for me. It's not something that legally anybody can say afterwards, well, I don't like this, you have it. You know, that can't happen to me. It's all your decision. But I've got a conscience and I like to sleep at night. And I don't want loads of people running around Italy saying, I can't believe you sold me this. So there is a lot of trust. There's a huge amount of trust. But the great thing is the kind of rapport that we have with clients is all about that. And hopefully, well, I know that people do trust us because of what we do. So this is how it works. Let's say you've seen a property. Let's say you've come on my Contact Plus and and you've found a property. You say, Dave, right, we've got the price agreed. Everything's done. Somebody's saying, I'd like to know renovation costs roundabout before I can decide for a property. Very difficult, Angela, very difficult. People can give you very rough ideas, but it's very difficult to give. You should never buy a property based on sort of how much somebody may say it might work out for renovations and things like that. You've got to be really careful with stuff like that because it's so difficult to give accurate costs because anything can happen while you're doing restorations. So anyway, I'm sidetracking again. Okay, so you found a property. You love the property. You say, Dave, this is for us. You know, we definitely want to buy remotely. We want you to help us. What do you do? So the first thing that we do, once the price is agreed, then we need to get your codice fiscal. I've said this. Oh, look, I actually did a slide as well. Look, Contact Plus. The new way to buy houses. The new way to find your daughter. Anyway. Okay, so the first thing we need to get is, oh, my wife's not watching this. She's going to kill me. Tony, if you can just turn that's it. Thank you. Codice Fiscale. We must have this. You've got to have it. I've said to people a million times, and I know you already know this, but I'm going to say it again and again and again and again and again. Codice Fiscale is a tax code that we must have. Without that, it doesn't mean that you start paying Italian taxes. Without that, you can't do anything. Okay, so you can't buy a house, can't do anything. So we must have a Codice Fiscale. Now, I would suggest we can get them for you. There's lots of people now that can't get them remotely, but we have a clever little system and some nice contacts in places to be able to get people's Codice Fiscales and things like that. So we can do that with no problem. But while you're messing around on the internet one boring, rainy Saturday evening and think, what can I do? Just think to yourself, I know what Dave said, let's get our Codice Fiscale. Go on to the Italian consulate, the closest Italian consulate to where you are. Go on to their webpage. Don't go on to because people say go on to the Agenzia dell'Entrata, which is the Italian tax office, and do it all there. No, you can't. You need to go to visit the Italian tax offices, which is what we do. Or you can go onto an Italian consulate website, type in their little search box, Codice Fiscale. I've written it there, write it down. Type in that, it will come up, fill out a simple form, get everybody one. Get anybody that's an adult in you might as well get everyone because it doesn't hurt anything. So especially if you're considering buying a property. So even if you've got kids as well, get them one. It's no big deal. Do it because you never know when they come to Italy, they may want to buy something and somebody says, I need a Codice Fiscale or anything like that. So go on to the Italian consulate, fill out the form. They'll ask for a scanned copy of ID, which is usually a passport, something like that. And they may ask for a utility bill or something like that for proof of address. And then, hey, presto, in some consulates, it's actually back within a week and you've got your Codice Fiscale. So that's we need that. Obviously, we take care of it. If you don't want to do that, or if you ring, you say, yes, Dave, I know you told me to do it, but I haven't done it. That's fine. Don't worry. We will get it for you. But as I say, on those boring Saturday evenings, you've got nothing else to do. Just get one. And then it's a bit of a head start for you as well. Doesn't change anything. Just means you've got an identity number here in Italy. Because when you go to the notary's office, the Codice Fiscale is a massive thing because, you know, we know that that's you. He or she knows then that that's you because you've already given your passport to get this. You've already given proof of address to get this code. When you go there, obviously you want a copy of your passport and everything else as well. But the Codice Fiscale says who you are, and it's been done by the official Italian authorities, and that's good enough for them to get the contract going. And even things like if you're buying a mobile phone or anything like that, they will ask for Codice Fiscale. So that's what we do. So we get the Codice Fiscale, then we move on to another thing. There could be, let's say we're doing it really quick. If you say, Dave, I'm ready whenever. Let's just get this thing sorted. then we wouldn't go through doing preliminary contracts, a promise to buy, promise to sell. We'd speak to the owner and say, look, we need to get this sorted out. We need to get the tax codes. We need to get another few bits and bobs sorted out. But we're planning on doing the act in the next few weeks or the next month or so. Let's do it. If the owner says to you, no, absolutely no, we must have a contract. I want to be sure. Maybe you want to be sure. Maybe it's going to take a little bit longer. Maybe you said you prefer it to be 2 months or 3 months, something like that. We do a compromesso. We can do it all remotely. You can sign to say that you want to buy this, and you transfer funds straight into it's a smaller deposit straight into the account of the owner once everything's signed and everything's done. So we get the owner to sign it from this side and all the rest of it. So that's all a simple thing. Usually the vast majority of people that are ready and want to buy remotely, we won't do the compromise if we can get away with it, because it's just an extra piece of documentation that needs to be sent by DHL and needs registering at the local tax office. It might cost you another few hundred and all the rest of it. It's there if we need it. The most important thing that we do is we arrange to do the power of attorney. Now, we use a particular notary that we've been using for a number of years. So we know exactly how he likes the power of attorney to be laid out. So what that power of attorney does, it gives me the right to sign on your behalf. It's not something that once you give me power of attorney, I can then use for the rest of my life, going around Italy, buying you loads of properties that you don't even know, and all the rest of it. It's used, as they say, in one context. It's used once for one thing, and it's a special power of attorney. It's not a general power of attorney where you give me the power of attorney to do anything. You're giving me the power of attorney to sign for a property on your behalf. So we know exactly how to get that document done. We give you that document in English. Okay, that's sent to you in English by email, and it simply says that you and whoever else is buying it have selected the power of attorney, me, to basically buy this property. And here's the cadastral information, so the land registry information for that property. So plot X, folder X, and so on and so on and so on, and then plots of land if there is any land, so on and so on, and all the plot numbers and everything else goes into this power of attorney. Then there's a big paragraph at the bottom that basically says that you're giving me the power to do a number of things. It's actually quite open what you're giving me the power to do. We do put a price on there, so we do say it's not that you say, yes, Dave, I'm buying that. I've agreed 80,000 euros, and then I suddenly decide to buy it for 90,000 euros. Doesn't give me the power to do something like that because the price is already on there. So you said this is the property, this is the maximum price, is what we say. We say the maximum price just in case, you never know. I don't know. The owners may say if we do it a week earlier, we'll knock you some money off, something like that. So I need the flexibility, even for that, to be able to change the price if needed. Not upwards, it has a maximum on it, but I need to have that flexibility. So we've got Neil saying exactly what we've done, and we totally trust in you, Dave, with our money, because people send, and I'm coming on to that as well, where to send the money. But so you give me the power of attorney to do all of this, and there is a number of flexible things where it gives me the power to be able to. It says complete this mandate. So you're asking me to buy this property for no more than X amount. It said exactly which property it is, but you'd also give me a little bit of flexibility if that's needed. So to give you an example, there's sometimes properties, but maybe there's some document work that needs to be done. So at the minute, it may be I'll give you an example of a house that we're doing really soon. It used to be two properties joined together in what they call a fusion, where the two properties were put together because they were joined together. You can get from one property to another, and it's now one house. Now, the owners, they wanted to do a deposit contract because with the money from that, they were going to actually do this fusion. Because if they weren't sure that the buyers were going to buy it, then they didn't want to spend the money to put these two properties together, which is normal. So when we did the compromesso, when we did the promise to buy, promise to sell, and when we did the power of attorney, it had two separate plot numbers. So for argument's sake, let's say plot number 1, plot number 2, okay, two separate properties. But it's mentioned in there then that there's going to be what they call a fusion. But it's also mentioned in there that I've got the flexibility to better identify that property, even if it's different from above. Now, that doesn't mean to say that we describe a property, put the plot numbers and everything else down, but then I buy you next door. It's not how that works. But it gives me the flexibility to make these decisions to fulfill that mandate. So instead of it being plot number 1 and plot number 2, by the time we buy it, it may be called plot number 4C, something like that. But I know it's the same property, and it gives me that flexibility. Because if not, when we go in front of the notary's office, if I don't have that flexibility, the notary will say, well, you've been told to buy plot number 1 and plot number 2. This is not plot number 1, plot number 2. It's now called plot number 4C. We can't do it. So there's lots of things in there that gives me that flexibility to fulfill the mandate that you have given me. So I send you that over to wherever you are in the world, and you obviously read the document, we go through it, make sure everything's okay. You then need to see a notary where you are. There's notaries all over. So wherever you are, there will be a notary. And certainly in the US, notaries seem to be absolutely everywhere, in banks and wherever else. In the UK, they tend to be in solicitor's office, but you've only got to put notary in whichever town you're in, they'll find you. And it's same in the EU, you'll find them all over the place. The most important thing is when you go to the notary, and this is the mistake that some people make, they sign in front of the notary, and the notary then is happy to say that that was your signature. That's not good enough. Because just a signature and a stamp of the notary to say, yes, they've signed it, that's only for use within your own country. As soon as you send that abroad, it has no legal entity, it's just nothing, it means nothing at all. And it has happened to me once where somebody signed a power of attorney, and it got past me as well, because it came with fancy certificates and other things, but it didn't have the most important thing, which is the apostille, the apostle stamp, which that is known by notaries all over the place. What it means is that a notary here can be sure that the notary there has checked that it's you that sat in front of them, and then they send it off to be legally notarized by using the apostle stamp. And when you get the apostle stamp, that then is for use outside of your country. That's the difference. It's a huge difference, because without that, you can't get it. And that is sent off to, in the US and possibly Canada, it's sent off to the Secretary of State. In the UK, it's sent off to the Foreign Office. In the EU, it's sent off to something similar to the Foreign Office. I think the same in Australia and places like that. So when you see the notary, when I've sent you that document and I say, go and sign that in front of a notary, you go and do that. The notary puts their stamp on it and everything else that they need to do. And then it must be sent for the apostille. That is the most important thing. Otherwise, it's worth absolutely nothing. Once you get that back, depending where you are in the world, it can take anything from a week to a month. So it needs organizing in reasonable time. But usually the vast majority within a week, 2 weeks are back. Once we have that document, even though it's all in English, it's a simple one-page document for the power of attorney. And then it comes with, as I said, some of the certificates we get, especially from the US, there's some great apostle stamp, these certificates that come from different states. I think every state must have a competition to see who can put the best. You get a bit of ribbon on one, you get a gold stamp on another. We get some great things. From the UK, we get a black and white sort of stamped page just at the back, and that's it. There's nothing fancy about it. When it comes from the US, it's like something out of a cowboy film. It's great. It's like my old guitar certificates I used to have when I was a kid. But anyway, they come through. That's the most important thing. So with that document, then you've given us power of attorney to sign for you once things are obviously in place. That power of attorney then needs to be translated into Italian, which is where my wife comes into things, and she will translate what you've signed into Italian, and she will translate all the details of the apostle certificate into Italian. So when we actually go to the signing, I'm signing as your power of attorney, which means I cannot sign for the translations. So my wife goes along and she will then sign to swear to the notary that what is written in English for the power of attorney is what is written here, what she's translated into Italian. And obviously the notary double checks that to make sure that matches what he like how he lays his power of attorney out. Now, when you do that, most notaries will accept a basic power of attorney, but there's some can be really funny and say, no, I don't want it that way. When I do a power of attorney, it needs to include also this and needs to include also that. So it's always good. If I was, I don't know, let's say you sent me to Sardinia to buy a property. If you could do it in August, because we're thinking about going there on holiday, that would be fantastic. Anyway, no, if we were going somewhere else, we would always contact the notary at that side and say, can you send us an example of your power of attorney so we can get it exactly right to your requirements? So that's what we do. So we've got your power of attorney, we've got the power of attorney translated, we're ready, we are good to go. Then after that, we usually then have a chat to explain obviously what's going to happen, to make 100% sure that you definitely want to buy this property. We then go to basically book a date with the notary's office. And in between that time, we need to have access to your funds. Now, lots of people, which is very kind of people, will say to me, Dave, I'll just send you the money and then you will. No, that's not the best way to do it. Now, I'm not going to run off with your money. But, if anything happens to me, then, I've got 2 great kids, but you never know, if there's a lot of money in the account and dad suddenly is no longer here. No joking aside, but you shouldn't do that. That's not how it works. There's 2 choices. One of them requires a little bit more trust also from the owners. The other one is a surefire way of everything being absolutely sealed, no problems, but has an extra cost of about €500 on top of the notary fees. So one way to do it is we go to the notary's office. And we did one of these last week, exactly for this using this type of system. The property was a cheaper end property. That really shouldn't make any difference. But because at the end of the day, money is money. Whether it's 10,000 or 100,000, it's still lots of money. But what we do is we then go to the notary's office. We sit in the office. And we say, okay, read through the contract. Let's do everything. At this point, the money has not gone anywhere. The money is still in your account. You're there waiting for me to say, release the money. It's great. It's like a power thing. But there's 2 things. You can either have the money sat in your bank, and obviously you need to speak to the bank to say, can we release this when needed? Because some banks will say, no, you can only release 20k a day or something like that, or 10k a day, or whatever it may be. So you need to make sure, you need to say, look, when I need to release these funds, can I release it instantly? Or better still, you will have it sat in the accounts of a exchange company, which if you join us next month, David Nixon will tell you all about that when we do a webinar a live stream on that. Sat there waiting in euros, already ready to go to where it needs to go. So I'm sat in the notary's office and I say, okay, we've gone through the contract. There's always a point where the notary reads through the contract. They're happy with everything. And then it comes to the part where it talks about where the money's come from and where it's going to be sent. So with the permission of the owners, some owners will say no. I would say to them, advise them before we go, look, I'm not going to give you a check at the time of signing because here things are done by bankers' drafts. So it's a secure check. What's going to happen is we're going to go in, we're going to sign, and then the buyer is going to send you the money direct. Now, some owners will say, no way I'm doing that. No way, because I'm signing away and I haven't got the money. I completely understand that. But there's a lot of owners that will say, yeah, that's absolutely fine. Because, at the end of the day, if the money doesn't come, the contract's not worth the paper it's written on anyway. But obviously, there's a little bit of trust that's got to come from everybody there. So that's one way of doing it. If the owners agree to it, then that's one way. So we sit in the office, gets to that time where everything is ready to go. I ring you up and say, send the money. With that, then you send me a copy of the transaction, because that's what we need as well. We need to put a transaction number. I need to see, and obviously the person that's selling needs to see that you've actually sent the money. All of that information then gets logged onto the act. So it will say the money's coming from Joe Blogg's bank in Australia, wherever it may be. The transaction number is this, and the amount is this, and it's going to this person. Neil's saying we know where you live. That's true, he does. Yeah, I must always remember to get another address when people come. Anyway, no, you completely thrown me off now, Neil. So that's basically, well, that's one way of doing it. So we're sat there and we say, send the money there, send the money to the notary, because the notary obviously needs paying and your taxes and all that kind of thing. The other choice on that is the notary fees and taxes can be sent to me, and then I will pay the notary fee and tax as well, because that's important. You don't want to delay on that kind of thing because it needs to be there ready. So a lot of the times I will say the expenses I will pay on your behalf because I'm your power of attorney. So then the money, as I say, will be sent to the owner, and you would say to the owner, I would say to the owner, here's the transaction code. The notary will look at that as well and log everything down. That's one way. The other way to do it is before the signing. So I would say to do it at least 10 days before. Usually these transfers are instant. I had a guy or a couple that were signing for tomorrow, and sent their money over. And even though it was a holiday day when they sent it earlier this week, it came instantly. The day after it was there, which is fantastic. But some exchange companies or banks can take 2 or 3 days. But what you want to do is a good week to 10 days before, you send the money to the notary. You send the money to the notary's escrow account. So it's sat in there protected. It's money that is held separate to his or her business. Okay, now this does cost you €500 to do this, but all the money gets sent there. There's nothing happening on the day, because the only slight risk of doing it on the day and sending it to the owner is if all of a sudden your bank said, we've decided to stop that transaction because we need to see proof of whatever, or we need to see, I don't know, we just need to double check ID, because that can happen. Then all of a sudden you think, oh my God, they're sat in their notary's office and I can't release this money. So it's a little bit of unnecessary stress. So for €500, it is worth sending it to the notary's account a good week beforehand. It sits in that account ready. So then on the day of signing, the notary can do one of two things for the owner. They can issue a check, a banker's draft, that then is given to the owners on that day, or the notary does a transfer. The difference between the notary doing a transfer and you doing a transfer is that the notaries here are really, really at the top of their game, in sense of they are next down from the Pope. You know, you got the Pope, and then you got notaries, and then you got everybody else. So they're well respected. The kind of jobs that they do, that nobody would ever doubt a notary. And unfortunately, if the owners have never met you from wherever you are in the world, it is a bit of a trust thing to think, well, okay, well, I've never met this person. Some money's supposed to be coming to my account. Hopefully it's all going to be all right. So the notary way is a great way. Send it all to the notary. The money's sat there secure. I go along to the notary. I sign on your behalf as the power of attorney, make sure the documents are okay, make sure everything is fine. And then the notary releases the funds. I don't need to even contact you. So if it's in the middle of the night, wherever you are in the world, and I'm signing, I haven't got to sit there waiting for you to get out of bed or whatever it is to say, yes, pay. You've already given me the right to do that. You've already signed the power of attorney for me to do that. And the notary will then release the funds. And that is and that's probably the safest way to do it. And that's it. It's as simple as that. It really is but it's all about the trust. And then what happens, the notary will then give us a piece of paper, because it must be quite strange when I think about. I had this discussion with my wife the other night. In fact, when we received some transfers from people that are buying this week, and I said, "Would you do it?" And she said to me, "Definitely not." I mean, she only just trusts me. So the thought of buying remotely scares the life out. And I think to myself, would I do it? And I really don't know. I would be nervous about it. And that's why I'm so appreciative when people do it, because it means that obviously there's a lot of, because there is trust. I would definitely not. If anybody says to send money direct to this, so if I said to you, no, just send it to me and I'll sort it out. It can be done, but I'd stay away from, and I'd prefer to stay away from that as well. It's different, me saying send the money for the notary and taxes, that kind of stuff, and I'll do that. That's slightly different to saying, okay, Dave, here's 100K for the house. If you can just sort that out for me. I don't want that kind of responsibility either, and I also don't want anybody, from the tax office knocking on my door and saying, why have you had millions of pounds going into your account? So to me, if you're going to send it to the owner, it's done on the day of the signing. when everything's done and we ring and say, go for it, or you send it to the notary. To me, that's the only two ways. And the best one of the two is the notary. Costs a little bit more, but your money's there and everything's ready and good to go. So the notary then gives us a piece of paper, and I often do this. I'll then send this. It's not just a piece of paper, there's something on it. It takes a little bit of the signing document, stamps it and signs it to say a contract has been done to buy this particular property between this person and this person. We're now waiting for it to be registered with land registry and that kind of thing. So what you get after you've sent all the money and everything else from me is a piece of paper with a notary stamp on it and a picture of some keys, and that's it. That's all you get from me. Just put that comment back up again, Tony. I'm going to just mention that one because this must be what it is. James is saying, always trust a Yorkshire lad. There you go. We are supposed to be the most. No, I shouldn't say that because I'm putting others down. We are trustworthy, though. Anyway, so we get that. The other thing with that piece of paper, so for all of your your money and all the, hopefully no stress, because everybody we've done this for has said, well, I can't believe that's it. But you do get that piece of paper. You do get a picture of the keys, and then we hold on to the keys then until the time comes to pass them to you. Tom's saying, what if the buyer wants to get a loan to purchase? I mean, first of all, it's really difficult to get a loan, but if you do, then it's a similar sort of thing. It's still all done with power of attorneys, but obviously the bank comes to the signing as well and all that kind of thing. There's more costs involved, but it is very difficult to get loans at the moment. The other thing with that piece of paper that we get from the notary that we can then do for you is do things like sort out all the utility bills, get them all changed into your name, set it up so the bills come to your email address wherever you are, and then you pay them. You'll get given IBAN codes and things like that. So if you set up a relationship with an exchange company, which as I said, wait for David Nixon next month to come and hopefully you'll use him. You get a good relationship with them and you can send the money through them onto the utility accounts and that kind of thing. It's dead simple. We can literally look after everything. Christine saying, we listen to your webinars and not focus on a particular city or area. We trust in getting the rest of the transition sorted out, most likely remotely. And it's a great way to do it. The other thing that you can do, I mean, obviously lots of people are doing this and never even been out here before, but even those that have been, let's say you come out next week, you find a property that you absolutely love. It doesn't matter who it's with. It could be with another agent, it could be with private seller, whoever, and then you say, okay, we're going back to wherever we're going to. Dave, will you look after it? And we can either do a power of attorney at our notary's office there and then, straight away. So we've already got that in place. Or you go home and I will send you all the details, as I've explained, to get the power of attorney done and the apostle stamp put on. Rough costs for things like that for the power of attorney at your side is anywhere between £200 to £400 or $200 to $400 or that kind of whatever the equivalent is. Whichever country you are. It depends from notary to notary. Some people, I tend to find some of the costs in the States tend to be a lot less than the costs in the UK. The UK tends to be up towards £400. In the States, a lot less. James is saying, is it easy to set up a bank account there? It used to be. It's an absolute nightmare now, which is why with this piece of paper that we get from the notary's office, we can set all your utilities up and do it sort of that way. When you're out here, it's a little bit easier to open a bank account, and we can do that. But it's not. But it's doing it remotely is difficult, and it costs money to have a bank account here. So really, you need to. If you can manage without it, do it without it. There's lots of different ways now that we can discuss on how you can send money. Which is saying, can you talk a little bit about post-purchase setup? Not sure what you mean post-purchase. If you let me know, but we do cover post-purchase things, as in things like checking the documents and all that kind of thing. That will be coming in future streams. So that's it. That's how we do it. And we seem to have got all of that all of that off to a T now. Tony's still sending questions through now, even though he knows the hour's up. But I'll answer this one because this one's actually a lot of people write this. Tom saying, "Are things easier being an Italian dual citizen?" No. Doesn't make any difference. The procedure that I've said tonight is the same, and taxes and things like that are exactly the same. It's all about where you're resident. So lots of people contact me and say, Should I buy a property now or should I wait in a year's time when I've hopefully got my citizenship? Doesn't make any difference. It's where you're going to become a resident. That's what the difference is. The only time citizenship comes into it is when you want to become a resident, become a permanent resident of Italy. Obviously, if you're an Italian citizen, that's great. But when it comes to buying a property, you don't have to wait. There you go. So that's buying remotely. It's easy. Just do it. Just give us a call. We'll get on with it. Tony's now putting up. Oh, no, this is not a question. Sorry. I appreciate your years. It's too fast, Tony. I can't read them. Anyway, do a lot of people actually buy remotely? Yes, loads of people. You may not have tuned in from the start, but lots and lots and lots of people. It's at the minute, it's 70-80% of my work. It's unbelievable. I appreciate your years of experience and extensive network. Thanks for sharing. You're more than welcome, Mary. That's very kind of you. Okay, guys, so that's buying remotely. If you're thinking about doing it, it is obviously, I'm giving you a simplified version. We don't take it for granted that you're just going to watch this streaming session and then suddenly contact me tomorrow to say, buy me this, buy me this, buy me this. If you want to, please do. I'm more than happy to do that. But yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. So don't be afraid about doing the buying remotely, because it shouldn't be something afraid. But again, it's a huge trust thing. Another quick question, Tony, this is the last one. Otherwise, there's a button here where it says I can kick Tony out of the room. I'm not being rude to anybody, but I tried to keep this within the hour. Otherwise, people start to suddenly disappear. Getting utility set up, taxes paid from abroad, if I'm not being able to get up for a while. So basically, as I say, we would set it up so you get your bills, all your utility bills are sent to you wherever you are by email. You can usually set up things like that as well with the councils, the local council. You can usually set it up so they'll send you an email. Paying your council tax is slightly different. I'll explain that on another streaming session, but it can all be done. As I say, the vast majority of our clients are doing this. It's just about having the right contacts, the right people, so you can just say, can you put that in place? And that's where our strength is. And I'm going to say that because I do believe that we are set up and ready to do all this kind of thing. Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I know the first part was a little bit about not about the subject, more about the way we want to take the direction of this business. But I would be really interested in hearing your opinion and what would make it easier for you to be able to make the most use out of the time, out of the short amount of time that you have when you come in viewing properties. I would really love to hear from you about that, and any other ideas that you may have, and any ideas also for streaming, for these streaming sessions that we do every Thursday. I do have a long list of things to talk about, but it's always great. Any input you can give is superb. But things are changing. And we want to be geared up and ready for that change. And we want to do it in a way that people are going to be so sure about the decisions they're making that they can actually do half of the searching without even coming out here. Because just looking at photo listings of places that you haven't got a clue what they're like and spending your whole week property viewing, morning to evening, believe me, is the worst thing to do. Just don't do it. So let me know how we can help even more. Email me at the info@homeinitaly.com that's on the screen below. And I'd be really grateful to hear from you. And remember, if you are in Abruzzo and if you do want to take those last two spaces on our coach for next week's tour, that's from next Wednesday evening and then Thursday and Friday, includes all your food and all that kind of thing. If you let me know, I'll send you some information. And if you want to book on that, then you're more than welcome. If not, October, last week in October and potentially the last week in November as well. Let us know. Send me an email if you are interested in blocking a space on one of those, because they are fantastic things. Thank you so much, guys. And next week, as I will let you know what we're doing, because it is our tour next week, so we're not quite sure what we're going to be doing. But if not, it'll be back to normal then from the week after. Thanks so much for all your support. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to meet as many of you as soon as possible. See you soon.